And we are live. Happy New Year, everybody. How have you guys been? It's been a minute, right? Bobby and I, everybody knows family's first 100% of the time, and we've been really busy. He's really busy. Tonight, I'm solo. Bobby's wonderful, beautiful wife is having a birthday. So, of course, since family first, he's spending it with his wife. And I think she's turning 27, I believe 27. Guys, if you're out there paying attention, that is how you win points with the ladies. Uh, yeah, it has been a long, it feels like it's been too long. It's been a long time. I hope everybody had a great Merry Christmas and celebrated their New Year's really, really safe. And I think this year everybody's going to have some good things coming towards them. I hope so. We all need it and deserve it, right? I would like to say hi to some of the people that are in the chat. Miss Diane, she's awesome. Miss Diane, thank you so much for the Christmas card. I was not expecting that, and it was absolutely amazing just to get thought of by somebody outside of family. So thank you so much for that. Lynn, I see Miss Lynn and Cashew. Thank you so much for being here. Cashew and Diane are our mods, and they're the best out there. I see Flat Rock. How you doing, bud? It's great to have you here at Rules Girl 2. Wonderful to have you. There's some few people here I haven't seen before. Thank you guys so much. I believe it's probably some of John's crowd following him in. We'll take it. Hopefully we can, have a new place that people will come and feel safe to tell their stories. And while I'm talking about that, if you guys know anybody, or if you yourself has had an experience and you'd like to share it with us, we would love to have you on. This is a safe place. There's no ridicule here. I've been on the receiving end of that after sharing my encounter, and this is not a place where you're going to come and get traumatized. It's a therapy to share that with you and to share that with other people. So if you got a safe place, just email us at bfforestgiants@gmail.com. And we would love to have you on. We also have my wife. My wife is watching when she comes. Hey, Miss Lynn, how you doing? It's great to see you. Happy New Year's, everybody. So we're going to bring on Mr. John Day and hear some of the encounters and things that he's had. I'm excited to have him on. It's an honor to have him on as our first show in 2026. Hopefully, he'll come back someday if he enjoys it. He might just, kick sand our way if he doesn't like it. So, but without further ado, let's bring on John. Everybody say hi to John. Welcome, John. How you doing, bud?
Hey, everybody.
We are happy to have you. And if you didn't know, there are people applauding. See? Yeah, they're applauding for you. I just realized with this whole time I had sound effects and didn't know it. So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get brought into this world of this phenomenon and go down this path of the same that we're all on right now?
Well, basically, it all started in West Virginia. I used to deer hunt in West Virginia. I probably deer hunted there close to 20-something years. And never seen or heard anything. I heard things, but I didn't quite understand what they were. I wrote them off as various things like squirrels cracking nuts on rocks, and which I found out later probably wasn't the case. After I quit deer hunting, I went up to visit with my parents. My parents lived up there. My dad's passed away recently, last year. I went walking up the mountain, and I was putting steps on my little watch. It's trying to get 10,000 in. And I went up to a place called Five Right, and I turned around and came back. And on the way back, I heard 4 tree knocks, and I wasn't aware of what tree knocks were. And I'm sitting there thinking, what is that? And I kind of stopped and I looked, and it was late in the evening. I was on the shady side of the mountain, and they had a holler that went up the mountain, and it sounded like it came from there. So I was staring in there. Couldn't make anything out. I looked at the top of the ridge, couldn't see no silhouettes. So I said, well, I don't know. And I just started to walk again. And when I started walking again, there was four more knocks in the same tempo and sequence. And I stopped again. And I said, "What? Wait a minute, this isn't making any sense." So I stared again, looked longer this time, could not see anything. So I looked down at the ground to take my next step, or my first step, and something was thrown over my head and it hit the treetops. And usually, if somebody throws something in the trees, you're going to look up when you first hear it, and you can usually catch it. But this passed so fast, I didn't even see what it was. I just seen the tree limbs moving, and I didn't see no feathers, so I know there wasn't no bird flying through there. So I had a pistol with me, and I unzipped my coat, and I said, I better get out of here. So I walked home to my parents' house. And when I got home, I told my parents about it. I said, something really strange happened. I said, something threw something at me, and it had tree knock, like, or stump. What I didn't say tree knocks because I thought it was like a staff hitting a stump, like bam, 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 4 times. And she said, well, Charlie Schwartz was up there by the pond, and he was sleeping in his van, and something ran his finger across the side of his van and hit his antenna and woke him up. And he was eyeball to eyeball. What he said was a Bigfoot, and they kind of laughed. And I said, well, that makes sense. What I'm hearing, this has to be something with opposing thumbs. I said, I didn't know the guy. I learned his name later, but that's when it kind of I started researching. So, so then I started researching in West Virginia and Louisiana, but me and my wife started in Louisiana. It was during the COVID epidemic. She was getting bored being around the house, and she said, we ought to get a tent and go camping. I said, really? You want to do that? She said, yeah, I'd like to do that. I said, okay. I said, well, we'll go camping at the National Forest at Costache. She said, okay. So we had a tent. I pitched it in the yard, make sure I had everything, got all this gear together, and went up there to a place called, I think it was Red Bluff, because it was in Costache, but I think it was called Red Bluffs. It was a campground. So we pitched the tent over there, and we were the only ones over there. I mean, they might have had a camper on the side of the road that was maybe about a quarter of a mile from us, but we were the only ones there camping. We had a couple people, I think, drove in and drove out, but it was pretty quiet. So the first night we didn't hear anything, and never noticed anything going on. But the second night, we had a whippoorwill flew through, making a bunch of noise, but then way off in the distance, we heard like a tree knock. And I asked her, "Did you hear that?" She says, "Yeah, I heard that." We did that. I think that day, find some small tracks on a sandbar in a bayou or something below there. But I thought it was just maybe kids were walking on the sandbar. My wife was kind of thinking it might be one of them, a juvenile or something. But anyways, we went to bed that night. We had a little fire lit, and I had one of them tents. It's basically all screens. I had left it all open, and I put a Coleman lantern out, and I just left it on a slow burn, let it burn all night. And we went to sleep. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear the biggest ruckus. It sounded like coyotes running a deer or something to that effect. And then I heard like a huge tree fall. And when the tree fell, the coyotes just shut down. I'm going, man, what is that? So I reached over there and got my pistol and laid it on my chest. And I looked over there at my wife, and she was still snoring. I said, I'm not waking her. I don't want to deal with a screaming woman this time. And so I waited there, and I looked up in the sky and said, man, come on, sunlight. Come on. And so I think it was like a few minutes after everything got quiet, I hear the bear-proof trash can lid drop. Bam. So I didn't hear like a bear fumbling with it, trying to get it open. It was just like somebody walked up to it, raised it up, and just dropped it. Bam. I said, that don't sound right. And I was thinking to myself. So about a minute, maybe half a minute later, something dragged a stick over my head on the tent. And that really got me. And my wife's still snoring, never woke up till after all that happened, and she had to use the bathroom. And then I was really nervous about, and I told her what was happening. She kind of got nervous. So that was right there in Gustashi. And I thought, yeah, you mean they got them down here too? And she thought the same. So we found some things around there. I think I gave you a picture of what we thought was a footprint. And they had some hieroglyphs, looked like made with sticks or wrote in the dirt around there. We found some other things. But we went home. I did some more research about knocks and stuff.
With that picture, John, since you sent me a few, I can try to pull it up. Did you see it in the ones that we looked at earlier?
I don't know. It was with that group. It's just like in the sand, or it's like a. That's it.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy print.
Yeah, I can. The heels at the top is what I see it, and the toes are in the middle. And I can see that clearly.
Yeah. So we kind of got out there and went home, and then the next weekend she wants to go to Tunica Hills and go camp. And so we went to a little campground in Tunica Hills, Louisiana, and that was strange. We set up the camp, and the first night we went to sleep. I think it was around midnight. I can hear a raccoon cutting up, and it kind of, like something was fighting with it maybe. And then I seen it fly across the campground, like something threw it. And I'm going, what is that? So I think she got up about the time I had to use the bathroom. So we went out with the light, and I seen the raccoon climb the tree and looking at us through the fork. And I didn't think nothing about it, but I just thought it was strange the way that raccoon was behaving. To me, it kind of made me think that maybe something had it by the scruff of the neck and just threw it in the campground.
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Yeah. So nothing really much happened there, except when I was going to sleep, I heard a tree knock, and it didn't register. And I told my wife the next morning when I got up, I said, I was dreaming or something. I thought I heard a tree knock. She said, you heard it too? I said, what? So we got up and we started looking around, and we did find some tree breaks right there by the campground. I didn't hear a tree break, but I heard a knock. But I said, they must be here too. So basically they're everywhere. So that was pretty much what went on the campground incident. So we started going on their family property, and we started seeing tree breaks and tree bends. And at that time, I don't think we had seen any X's, but I had seen one there deer hunting. I found a ladder stand by the 21-inch canal. They call it 21-inch canals, where the pipeline runs through, and they could have filled it with dirt, but they didn't. They left it as a canal. And I was deer hunting in somebody's tree stand. They had a ladder stand, been there for a long time. So I just said, well, I'm going to sit up here and look around. When I was sitting there, it was getting late, kind of dark. And I was kind of looking down or up or whichever way it ran looking parallel with the pipeline, and seen a face. And I'm going, wait, is that pareidolia? That's got to be. I said, hey. But it was laying on the ground, whatever it was, because the face was turned sideways looking up at me on the tree stand. And it kind of had a smile. And I'm saying, man, my eyes are messing with me. I didn't think nothing about it, but then it started getting kind of dark. So let me get down. So I got down and I said, I'm going to go check on that spot. So I walked over there. So I looked around, and the grass was all matted down, and the vines and stuff. I'm going. And then I heard something. like walking in the swamp, like bipedal walking. I said, what is that? So I looked out to my left in the swamp. Well, I see a stump about 70 yards from me. It would look like about, I'm used to seeing black stumps, but they're like maybe 2 foot, 3 foot off the ground. This was like 8 stump.
Yeah.
So I had my rifle, the scope, I raised up to look at it. And when I tried to get it in the scope, I couldn't get it in the scope. But when I dropped the scope to see it again, it was gone. I'm saying, oh, I seen the face. I'm hearing the noise. I say, that's got to be the Bigfoot.
Right. It's all adding up.
Yeah. So I kept going back there every once in a while and looking for that stuff. I never found it. But that was a sighting that I had. And I think what brought that there, I had started putting oranges out. I have a big navel orange tree in my backyard and makes the best navel oranges. And I was putting them out and I was finding them. You may have a picture of them peeled, but I don't remember when you showed me that a while ago. But yeah, it was like they were being peeled, not gnawed on. So I said, well, maybe that's something else. Maybe a raccoon can do that. I don't know. But so I put a plastic Clorox bottle painted green so people wouldn't mess with it, and I hung it in a tree and I screwed the orange, put a screw in the orange and hung it up in there. But anyways, I've been doing that, and I think that might have been what brought it around. I also found something in there that was really strange. I think it gifted me something, but I didn't quite know what it was. Yeah, you've been around cypress trees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was like a pillow made out of pulled cypress bark. And everybody said, well, it could have fell out the tree, a squirrel's nest, but there was no sticks in it.
Yeah.
If it's a squirrel's nest, there would be sticks in it. And it was shaped perfectly like a pillow. Now, whether they gifted me that for the oranges, I don't know.
I found similar things like that, John. It's almost like it's all gathered and intertwined and in just one spot. And they're usually, gosh, no bigger than a tumbleweed or smaller. I've found in the cypress. I've found that many times down here.
Yeah.
Is that similar to what you're talking about?
Well, this was almost rectangle.
Oh, okay.
Rectangular rounded edges, but it was different. I didn't know, and like I said, there were no sticks in it. But so in Louisiana, my wife, she wanted to go on the property that's still in Louisiana. We were walking back there. Well, let me go. I'm a little bit ahead of myself. So I found a tree with a root on it that was weed. It was old and it was dry, but it was weed in and out of little trees, and it stood maybe 2 foot off the ground. So I found that, and so I just picked it up and put the root ball, what's left of the root, and what shouldn't say a ball, on the ground. So I went back there a week later, it was there, and I went back a week after that, it was picked back up, put in the same spot. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it again. So I did it again, and the same thing. And it, so I picked it back up one more time and left it there. Well, when I was going in for the third time to check it out, they had a box turtle in the trail. And it knew I passed, or whatever it was, knew I passed there, because there was a water hole on the right, so I always passed through that little trail that goes around the water hole. And I said, man, I don't know, maybe it gifted it to me. So maybe not. I mean, it was right in the middle of the trail.
Yeah.
So when me and my wife went, I think the last time, and before I walked up the trail, way off at the end of the road was real kind of far. I seen a dark something over, on the right hand side of that, and I can't say for sure what it was because I couldn't see that well. But anyways, me and my wife went back, I think the next weekend or next day or whatever it was, and we were walking. We'd always park the truck by the Highway 70, and we'd walk in, and I think I went by that tree that was weaved in there at that time, and it just broke it off the root, and so we went on around, and there's a crawfish pond on one side, and I stood up by the crawfish pond, and I heard a whoop, a really faint whoop. And I asked my wife, "Did you hear that whoop?" And she says, "No, I didn't hear nothing." Well, I kind of heard it up my right ear. So we kept walking to the back. We got when you get to the pipeline, there's like a hill, We climbed, went up the hill, and I was checking out a tree break, and it's in one of your pictures. It's kind of like a break and a twist.
Yeah, I'll find that real quick. Is it this one?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
You're good at this. So I was standing there and I heard a knock, and I asked her, "Did you hear that knock?" She said, "I heard the knock." I said, "Okay." So we walked on down to where. Oh, you also seen the. You can show them the picture of the face of the Bigfoot that's similar to the one I looked at.
Okay, let me see.
That's it right there.
That's it right there.
That
Yeah.
face looked exactly like that. Okay. Anyways, we walked to where I'd seen the Bigfoot, and it's on the way to where the oranges are, where that stand was, and I showed her the stand, and I walked over there and was going to check out the oranges, and then we hear a high pitched scream, and my wife heard it, and she said, I just heard it. Well, before the scream, it was like something took a log and threw it in the canal, but it wasn't a swoosh like an alligator tail. It was just like a kablush.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that don't sound right. But when I heard the scream that followed, and she heard the scream, I said, that's not normal. And it was a high pitch. I likened it to like a 600-pound rabbit scream,
Oh, geez. Rabbits are so noisy. Some
Yeah.
people have never heard rabbits. They're some of the most crazy sounding animals you've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. But she heard it like running off in the distance. And it sounded like it was to her, like, and she pointed in a direction was like going to where we were going to go out at. So we started walking back, and we got to that crawfish pond where I was telling you with the levee, where we heard the first whoop. So we were standing there, and I told her, I'm gonna just do a couple of whoops, faint like what I heard. So I did one, and I think we waited 5 minutes. I never got a reply. So I said, I'm gonna do another one. I think I did three, and on the third one, this is where she I think really started believing in Bigfoot. We heard, rah, rah, and then we started hearing them breaking branches and hitting trees with the branches, and you kept hearing it getting further and further away. And she says, "We need to go. We need to go." I said, "Look, if they wanted to kill us, we'd already be dead. They don't want to mess with us."
Yeah.
And she got real nervous, but she calmed down after I told her that. So we going back out, and we go to that little trail where the first turtle was. There was two turtles there.
That's not coincidence.
Yeah. I guess skeptics will say, what they will, but I just had a feeling that was gifted to us. But in that corner where I had the root in the tree, my wife noticed an asterisk, and I don't know if you got that picture.
I think I have the root in the tree too, as well. Is this what you were?
Yeah, that's the root in the tree, but it ended up breaking off all that on the end.
And then the asterisk.
Standing in the woods with hunter's orange.
Is it on the ground or is it in the air?
It's in the air.
Okay. These thumbnails are so small. Let's see if this is it. That's not it. Let's see. Is this it?
No. X in the same area.
No.
No. It's gonna look like a spider web.
Remember, some of these didn't come in because they were formatted. But I'm gonna keep looking. We'll go through it. That's the root.
It's a daylight shot, and it's in the trees.
I don't know.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either. Let's see.
Oh, that's West Virginia. That's two of them.
That's not it. That's not it. We were just at that one. Yeah, I don't see it in here. The one that you were. Yeah. We went through them all.
It didn't come through.
Yeah, some of them were formatted different. Sorry for everybody that's watching. Some of the image he sent me were not formatted right for us to download, but I got the ones that I got.
So if you can think of a dream catcher, it kind of looked like that with the cross and X's and stuff in it.
Gotcha.
So she sent it to Chris Reinhardt, I
Hmm.
think. And he, because we weren't real sure about it. And he sent us pictures of four of them that looked like it from Ohio. But
Yeah.
he's in Connecticut, I believe.
Hmm.
So I knew that they're not by accident.
Right.
And so, anyways, that was the asterisk. Now, going back to the picture you have with my grandson standing by the tree.
Yeah. Let's go back and find that from the little tiny thumbnail. Okay, let me scroll down just a little bit more. Bear with me. It is not that. It is not that. That's during the night. For the love of Pete. Boom.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about that's on the property. That's at the beginning. That's by the highway. But if you notice all the trees in the background, you can see the root system, right?
Mm-hmm.
This tree has no root system because it was jammed in the ground, and
Gotcha.
that's behind the guy's house. Now, I had a he had a something going on at his house. He's by the highway. His little boy was sleeping in the back bedroom by the woods and got scared, and he wouldn't go back and sleep in there anymore because he's seen a red-eyed monster. So they had to move him to the front of the house, closer to the highway, so he could sleep at night.
Right.
But that's tree right there is jammed in the ground, tree or a large limb. I mean, it was pretty big.
John,
And
we had a couple people that have recently joined and they were asking, was this in the state of Florida? It was not, but it was West Virginia.
No, Louisiana.
Louisiana, I'm sorry. Louisiana. There you have it.
Louisiana. Yeah. Everything on her property is Louisiana.
Gotcha.
And everything in my family and my parents was up in West Virginia.
Gotcha.
So the house, like I said, they had to move the little boy to the front, and he had a picture of a footprint behind his house, like standing on a piece of cloth.
Yep, I got that one.
You got that one?
I do believe so. Let me find it. Is that it?
No, that's the hieroglyphs
That is not it.
that we found and written in the sand when I was at Costache National
Okay.
Forest when we had to deal with the dogs and the tree falling and all. My wife had spotted it.
Yeah, I remember seeing it, but it might have not been one of those pictures that didn't
Yeah.
load. It looked like it was on some kind of black tarp or something, correct?
Yeah, that's it. You might have seen it from the.
Yeah, it's not in here.
Yeah, you probably seen it with the original.
Yeah.
So, still in Louisiana. So that's the house and the things going on with there. So I'm gonna go over some things still in Louisiana to keep everybody up to date. I have two stories. There's an area called the Godell. Everybody calls it the Godell. It's off of Bay Natchez. It runs parallel with the spillway. It runs from Pierre Port all the way up to Bayou Pigeon, I think, or Bayou Sorrel. So I was at the park one day and I'm talking to a guy that's working I'm on the board, so I'm watching the construction going up on a pavilion. So one of the construction workers was there working and he was local from Pierre Port. And I don't know why I was impressed to do that, but I went ahead and said, "Do you believe in Bigfoot?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "What?" I said, "What makes you believe in Bigfoot?" Well, we were on the Godell and we were picking up dogs one night and they had something big, black, and hairy running on the spoil bank along the edge of the Godell. Now, he couldn't tell you if it was a Bigfoot or a dog, man. He just said it was bipedal and it was running across on the spoil bank. That was one incident by just asking people. And then I was talking to a guy on the Growback. I think it's called a Growback above the church by the 21, which is not far from where I seen the Bigfoot. He was fishing there and he dropped his trolling motor and he turned around and looked and there was a Bigfoot and he picked up his trolling mower and took off. So it kind of adds a little credence to my story. And these people, I don't want to use their names, but because I tried to get them to interview for Troy Landry and Swamp People, and they refused to do anything. So the other story on the Godell, going back to the Godell, is Troy Landry's son, Chase Landry. He had an incident on the Godell, a place called Horseshoe Bayou, which I guess I can take this moment and talk about me and my wife's incident that happened there. Talking about Stafford, talking about the guy on the Godell that seen the bipedal black hairy being running up the Bay Natchez by the Godell. We went there just in my boat, just out of curiosity, and we stopped. We kind of went. It wasn't at Horseshoe Bayou, but I think it was a little bit either above or below. We parked our boat there, and I took a stick and my paddle and I did a knock, and me and my wife were sitting in the boat, and then we could hear something bipedal. And the water's high at this time, and all the palmettos got water in, and it's thick in there. And she could hear. She said, "Well, I hear bubbles and something walking towards us, bipedal." I said, "That ain't bubbles. I think there's something dripping off of it." So whatever it was came just right out of eyesight from us and paralleled the boat and went up in front of us. And my wife panicked. She wanted to leave, so I had to crank up and leave, which kind of adds credence to the story about the black bipedal being running there. So going back to Chase Landry, still Louisiana, he was frogging on the Horseshoe Bayou, which is like Bay Natchez in that body of water from above Bell River, one night, and he seen some eyes, and it was something black, but it was 4 foot off the ground, so he wasn't quite sure. He couldn't make a good sighting of it. But he said something really strange was there was an alligator. He said usually alligators, when you're around with a light, they kind of put their eyes on you, kind of watching you. But he said this thing kept watching the bank where you're seeing the red eye shine coming from. So he thought that was strange. But when he got home, and this is when he was frogging, when he got home, he told his daddy, he said, "I seen something out there," but he said, it was black, but I couldn't make out the outline of it. And so they thought it might have been a panther. So Troy said, "We ought to maybe put a camera or something out there." Well, anyways, the next night, Chase is going frogging again, but he's coming back. This time, he told me, he said, "When I'm frogging at night, I'll do something typically most people don't do. Is when I'm frogging, I'll turn my headlight around and look behind me and see if there's something I might have missed." He said, I've caught a lot of frogs just doing that. So when he was going down, he flipped around his light around to try to see if there was any frog, but he flipped around and he seen the eye shine. He picked his light up on it. He said it was a big bipedal, upright creature, black. And he's explaining to me all this. I think I talked to him for almost an hour. He lives in Florida, and he started describing it to me. And he started saying it was built like a linebacker. He said it's big old broad shoulders, big old thighs. He said this thing was huge. He said about 7 foot tall. He started describing the head to me. He said, "Well, yeah, it had pointed ears." I said, "What? Hold up, Chase. What are you talking about? Are you talking about a dog, man?" He said, "Yeah, that's what it was. It had a muzzle and everything." I said, "What?" He said when he seen it, but what he seen, and it kind of makes me think it was hiding from him because it was hugging the tree on the opposite side he was coming from. So it makes me think that he wasn't expecting to get hit with that light after Chase had passed, and he hadn't tried to sneak back around the tree. So he wasn't normally used to seeing somebody flipping their headlight around, and Chase caught him full in his headlight. And he says, "I'm not too scared of much," but he says, "I'm not going in that woods. My dad wanted to put a camera in there or something." He said, "I'm not going." He says, "That place looked wicked." So that was the other incident on the Godell. And that I got a hunting lease above there that I belong to. There's a hunting lease. I had some things happen to me at the hunting lease. Everybody on the hunting lease is always making fun of me. I enjoy it. Most people get mad, but I like educating people, make them think when they hear stuff. But I hunted a little area called it was Ricky's Road, they call it. There was a stand there, but I took a lock-on tree stand and stuck it in a tree about maybe a quarter of a mile into the woods. And I've had a couple times had a couple things happen to me. One time I was up in there, I heard a tree knock. Now, a lot of people, they'll say, "Oh, that was an acorn that hit the palmetto leaf." I say, "I know what that sounds like." When you hear something that hard knock wood, you don't question it. You know.
Yeah, it's really strange with the tree knocks. It almost sounds like no matter where you are, they all sound the same.
Yeah.
They don't differ. The tones don't differ. None of the ones I've probably heard a dozen
Yeah.
in different locations, they all sound the same. Like somebody just hit a home run with at a at a baseball
Knock out
game.
the park, huh?
Yeah, it's almost like and you try to take anything natural with you that a Sasquatch might have, a rock, a stick, a limb, a log, whatever. When you hit that tree, it's just a thud. It's just a thud. It's not a the knock. And so I'm not, some people think they mouth pop or whatnot. It very well could. But they all sound the same. It's almost like if they're going to get that hard hit, they almost have to peel the bark off the tree to get that solid hit and not a thud. It seems
Right.
like that bark deadens the impact quite a bit. But we've tried several times on several occasions of taking what's out there naturally and hitting a tree to replicate it. You just can't. You can take something with you and hit that tree. You can take a wooden bat and hit that tree, and it's a thud.
Yeah.
So it's really bizarre how you get that sound. And again, people say that they could lip pop or whatever. They very well might. I do not know.
Yeah.
But it is definitely interesting when you hear those knocks.
So okay, so I was going back. I was in my tree stand one evening, and I heard the knock, and I got down off my tree stand, and I got on my four wheeler, and I rode. I don't know what the distance is, maybe a quarter of a mile to a little place where the road turns sharp right. They call it the elbow, and I smelled really bad body odor. I was saying, that sucker followed me out. So that was the first incident. The second incident, I was in my tree stand, and I could hear grunts, like mouth clicks, like a deer grunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I started replying, and it started replying. It kept coming, almost close. In fact, it sounded like it was right on me. So I got my rifle and set it in my lap and got ready. And then I heard something on my right. It sounded like it was mimicking me, but I don't have the volume to do what it did. I mean, it was loud with a scream in between the clicks, a high pitched scream. And I'm going, wow, what is that? And then I heard sound like branches breaking, like I heard before, and like big branches snapping and popping. And I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
I said, there's a camp over there somewhere. I wonder if they're clearing land or something. So I called them the next day, and they said no, they were cleaning a deer. I thought somebody was clearing the woods. That was the second incident on the lease, the hunting story. So going back in time, back in the 60s, they had an old fella. He's still living. He's in his 80s. His name I won't give you his name because he told it to me. And his name's Russell Metrogene. Back in the 60s, they were scooping catfish. I don't know if you ever see those. They look like little flies, mayflies, moths.
Mm-hmm.
And they get on the water, and the catfish come up and eat them. And they were scooping them with nets, and they're called Fisher Bayou. And there was some small willows on his left of the boat. There was three. I think there was three guys in the boat, maybe one in the bottom sleeping or something. And they were scooping them. And they had a small young willows on his left. He said it was about 6 foot tall. He said there was something that stood up Or he seen the head, and then it stood up another 6 foot. He said it looked like.
Another 6 feet.
Yeah, he said it dove in the water, not far from him, got the guy in the bottom wet, came up, they locked eyes, they went back underwater, I think, or swam across to the next bank, got up on the bank and took off running.
Wow.
So I asked him about it and described it. He said, well, it had long, it was kind of reddish. It had long hair down on his shoulders. I said, he said, but you know, he said, I couldn't shoot it. And I said, what? He said, no, I wouldn't be able to shoot it. Why? I said, well, why is that? He said, it looks too human. So when he told me that, thinking back in West Virginia, what I had on my camera, and I pencil drew it in, and I showed it to him, and he says, I said, no, I asked him, I said, did it look like this? He said, yeah, that's it. It looks just like that, except it was pencil drawing.
Yeah.
But I had it on my camera, and you showed it. No, you didn't show it earlier.
Yeah, I don't have
You
that.
had the one between the tree and the two on each side.
Yeah.
But anyways, the guy that set me up with Russell Metrogene had something happen to him in the same area in the same time frame. And there was 4 of them going teal hunting. And they're going camp, then they're camping out and they're going teal hunting. Well, they find a camp and they're going to camp out around the camp because the grass was all cut and everything. So they go, well, we're going to pitch our tents right here. So I think it started looking like it was raining, and they looked at the camp and it looked like the back door was kicked in and some windows were broke. So they said, well, we'll just pitch our tents in there. I don't know if they pitched their tents or not, but anyways, they were uncomfortable. They said something kept harassing them all night, or they felt really uncomfortable. I think they might have heard a few grunts or something. So they left the next morning. They didn't want no part of what was going on out there. So the next weekend, one of them and two of the party decided they were going back out there. So they went back out there and they said, well, we ain't going to camp on the ground. We're going to go stay in the camp. We're going to put this vinyl flooring in that glass, that broken glass, and we're going to they picked the door up and they leaned it like going out. But they said it took 2 of us to pick that door. It was a heavy door. And they leaned it against the wall like to fall out, but the door frame at the top was holding it in, I guess. So about midnight, they said something came by, and he said the camp was 4 foot off the ground. He said to hit that door and knock in like they did, they had to hit the top of the door. So they figured whatever it was had to have 8 foot.
Long arm, yeah.
They said knocked the door in, and it fell in the hallway. He said it scared them. They loaded their shotguns up, and they told him, we don't know who you are, but if you try to come in here, we're going to kill you. And they waited a while, and I think things calmed down. And so they got their lights and went out in the back porch. And he said it was weird. He said it was like somebody took a big giant piece of concrete and slammed it against the ground. It like vibrated the ground. Well, I told him about some footfalls I felt in West Virginia. He said, that must have been what it was. He said, we kept hearing noises like grunts or something around the camp. He said, but I couldn't figure out what that was. And he said, it probably was a footfall. He said, we thought the place was haunted because the guy that owned the camp, they found him dead in that camp with a heart attack. Now, was that when the door was knocked in and the windows were broken? I don't know. But yeah, he said they found him in the camp with a heart attack. So I guess you can try to figure on your own. But then I talked to a lot of people around Pierre Park, and I talked to the barber, and it was a lady, and she tells me different things about the people. Like they used to call I think they called it a bet tie or something, but they say it was a white-faced monkey in the trees. Old people used to tell them that to keep them from, the bet tie is going to get you going in the woods. But like I always said, why do you need a bet tie when you can have alligators and bears and panthers?
Yeah.
You don't have to make something up to scare people.
Right.
But she told me a story. I used to swim in a dynamite hole by her land on the back end of her property. As kids, they go in there and swim. And she said, and after I started talking to her more about this stuff, she started thinking more. So, well, it was weird. They had a guy, a big, tall, black guy, and he kept poking his head around the tree and watching us. She said, I thought that was strange because he said most of the time if it's a deer hunter, they're going to kind of wait, get out and look at you and wave to you. But he said she started thinking about things like that happened to her in the past. But not far from where she's at. I was taking my granddaughter. They have a row of houseboats that they park on each side of this canal, which leads up probably close to that vicinity. And I'm just idling real low, and we hear a tree knock, and I look over at my granddaughter. I said, "Did you hear that?" She goes, "Yeah." So I think she's kind of believing it in Bigfoot now. Now in the spillway back in that area I told you about where the houseboat, I mean where the house camp was broken, broken up and all. They had a hunter that captured something on his game camera that was big and tall, but he said he thinks his son said it wasn't, but he thinks it was a guy in a ghillie suit messing with him. And then my nephew, same thing. He was walking out to a stand on Honey Island Swamp, and he thinks the guy was laying down in the swamp. And when he walked up to get to his standing, he stood up and walked off into the swamp.
People don't usually just lay down in swamps.
No, and wait for somebody to come to their deer stand. That's dangerous.
That's how you get shot too. Yeah.
But that's basically most of the stuff. Like I went over, well, like when I first started seeing, Bigfoot in West Virginia, my sister started getting involved with it, and she was babysitting a 80-year-old lady. She was doing daycare at the time, and she just arbitrarily asked her, "Say, you believe in Bigfoot?" "Oh yeah." Well, my sister says, "Really? Why?" "Well," he said, my mama told me a story, either about her grandmother or her. I don't remember exactly, but they were sleeping in bed, her and her husband, and something pulled the blankets off of her, and she was looking at it, and it was big, and it was smiling at her. She got scared, so she grabbed the blankets and pulled them back up and pulled them over her head, and then the thing pulled them back down, and then she screamed, and her husband got up with a gun and chased it. It ran out the house and never again. So that was just, people, if you just ask questions, sometimes you might feel embarrassed, but then again, you might find out some stuff that's going on. And some things happened when my dad passed away. That was really strange. Well, we used to go, me and my wife, and we'd get with my sister and her daughter, and we'd go up on the mountain, and we heard a lot of different things, seen eye shine.
You went mute there, John. You went mute. Can you hear you? Go ahead and say something.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can hear you. Now you can hear you. You were muted for a second.
I was muted?
Yeah, just for like the last 5 seconds. When you went to start your conversation, or you went mute.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, just random.
Well, when my dad passed away, he well, you had muted too. I thought you were trying to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Am I messing with a cord somewhere?
No, we would go up. I don't know how much I got cut out, but we'd go up the mountain with my sister and my wife, and we'd go see things happening. The very first time we went up there, I learned about from Patrick Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yep, not bad.
Okay, he used to talk about tree knocks, and he always said just do one. He says anything more he considers could be aggressive. So I went up there after things happened up there, and I don't remember which way, in my discussion where that happened at, but we went up there and decided to do one tree knock. We had been up there before, and we were doing 3, and we didn't get no response. So we went up there and we stopped in that area where some of your audio recorders are, recordings I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
And we backed up to a pond, and they had a big tree. So we got out, and I got a stick, and I hit the tree. And as soon as I hit the tree, it popped right, like it was like 20 yards, like down the bank from us, below, down the mountain. I'm going, whoa, that was too quick. So I said, maybe it's an echo, and I handed it to my nephew and said, go ahead and hit it. Well, it didn't do anything. It didn't get a response. I said, let's go. Let's get out of here. So we went through a switchback below where we were, and he decided he wanted to do another tree knock. And so I said, go ahead and go on and get out. So he got out, He jumps back in the car. I said, what are you doing? He said, it's right, whatever it is running around right there above us. So we took off and left. But after that, we went back, I think, the next evening. We made a ride up there, and we found some X's and stuff, and a big old huge arch, like about a 6-inch tree. Um, well, we went back that night. That was the evening when we went back there that night with the headlights, and we were looking around. We seen a deer, I think, going down. When we got to the pond, I'm seeing this big old golden eye shine. I'm going, what? What is that? So he was in the back seat. He seen both eyes. So we took off. But it looked like after that started happening, well, it was one evening we went up there, another evening, another trip up to West Virginia. We were going up there, and I think we had the fire built and all. No, we didn't build a fire. It's late in the evening, but it's not dark. We started hearing the whistles, and I asked my wife, "You whistling?" She said, "No, you whistling?" "No, Margaret, no, I'm not whistling." And I felt a foot stomp. So I said, "Well, we need to go a footfall." So we got to my parents' house, and we all got out. The kids got out of the car. My wife got out of the car, but my sister stayed in hers, and I was in mine. And I was getting out, and I heard it sounded like a rifle shot, or and I didn't know what it was, but it was right above us. So my sister, she was in her car, and I asked her. I said, "Did you hear what sounded like somebody threw a rock on the roof or something?" It kind of sounded like a rifle shot, which I think it was a branch being broke. Because all that stuff went on. The dogs never barked in the neighborhood. It whistled, and as soon as it whistled, all the dogs lit up. I'm going, they were following us down the mountain. So my mom, a little bit before that, and maybe a little after that, she was getting something slapping the house. So when they had the funeral for my dad, my sister-in-law was going out the back, the front porch, and something threw a stick or something hit her in the calf. And she said she seen like a dark image around the corner of the house. So I just kind of, well, she went home after, and she kept hearing like a coyote barking or something. But she said it sounded like a human trying to make the bark sort of yips around the house where she was across the street. But anyways, I think it was another night where my mom and her and my niece and her boyfriend was there, and me and Wendy were there. I heard somebody drop the basement door, like it's when you pick up and drop
Like a cellar.
the cellar door, dropped it.
Oh man.
And I thought it might have been just me, and I looked at her boyfriend. I said, "You hear it?" I said, "Yeah, I heard it." And so I had to go out with my flashlight and my gun, go in the basement, make sure something wasn't in there. But they've been having a lot of stuff like that going on. Do what, Wendy? Yeah, it's been slapped. Oh, I think it was after we got home, after my dad's funeral, we got back home. Something beat on her door like 3 times real loud, and she was getting that every once in a while with the house slaps, but then it stopped. I'm just wondering if these things would have been messing with her. Maybe knew that my dad passed or what. But I think I got everything except one incident. Where me and this guy walked into my old family graveyard. With we were going in there setting up recorders, and we walked in after dark, and we was picking up the one by the logging road, and he had his phone on record, and you have that one. I think you could play it if you want.
Is it the one where we're walking in the water and then by no, the other one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me turn on my Bluetooth here. That was fun. And
other one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me turn on my Bluetooth.
Let me turn that off so that's not playing. So this is the 3-minute one.
I think it is. Yeah. It's a You hear the whistle?
Yep. Can everybody hear that in the chat? Let me know if you can hear that. If I need to turn it up, please.
I got my left ear is bad. It's in that direction. I might not hear it. I hear something beating like this direction, thumping, hitting in their chest. Boom, boom, boom. This direction, out that way. I hope they ain't them Indian drums. No, it don't sound like that. My daggone battery's going dead. Yeah, on my phone it's charged a while ago. It's almost dead. How's yours look? It's hit about 3/4. You know where the fuse goes up. Okay. I think mine just up in the right hand corner. Yeah, it's going. Just plumb almost dead. Yeah.
Sounds like apes.
It's hard to tell what you'll get pictures of down there. That's what I'm trying to see. Exactly. Let me see all the battery. Mine was charged. Mine was fully charged a while ago. Oh, mine's not done. Well, you want to ease back? Yeah. I got this one going still yet. Huh? I heard that. It sound like a dog? So, yeah, sort of like it. Kind of coyote-ish? Mm-hmm. You heard it? I heard something. Didn't know what it was. A lot different at night. I switched on my radio. See, it happened to us coming out through here. We got like this coming out through here, and it felt like there was something breathing on our neck all the way out there. Yeah. You heard that? Yeah. It sounded like an ape or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does sound like an ape. I mean, there's nothing else that it sounds like to me. When I try to think of something else, I can't think of any other animal that sounds like other than an ape, and that's my opinion. And I think people in the chat may have said the same thing. I bet were you guys nervous at that time?
I didn't feel threatened. I was kind of uncomfortable, but
didn't get your heart race a little bit?
I probably did. A lot of the heavy breathing was making me nervous, and I don't know what that was. Did you recognize any of that?
I heard it too, and I was trying to figure out. Did you guys have dogs with you?
No
dogs, because it almost sounded like panting a little bit.
Yeah, there was no dog with us.
Yeah,
there was no dogs at the. Okay, the only thing they had was the wife and the kids had a fire we built over there by the pond. That's the only thing. You might have heard them talking, but there was no animals there. The whistling was driving me crazy.
Yeah,
they whistle a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the whistle we always hear up there.
Yeah, I haven't, that I know of, heard whistles yet. We got a lot of noisy birds down here in Florida.
Yeah.
That can make all kinds of noise. If anybody's ever heard a sandhill crane, if you've never heard one before, until you hear it, it's hard to believe there's something that can make that noise with that little tiny head. They sound like a dinosaur. Like they sound like a raptor.
Yeah.
Do you want to put a background to the other audio, or do you want to leave that out?
You can play that one. maybe get some opinions of people what they.
I will tell everybody what I hear after, because I don't want to be suggestive and tell you what I hear before and then have people hear it. There's something in the water. It comes out of the water and walks on dry land. Listening to the steps while it's in the water and listen to the steps when it's on the land. Does it sound four-legged or two-legged? That's what I'm going to give you to listen for. And then you can make up your own mind. All right, chat. Tell me what you hear. I want to hear what y'all think you heard because I know what I heard. And I'll let a couple of people give their thoughts. Miss Diane, she heard what sounds like two legs bipedal. Anybody else out there? Miss Mariah said, "Holy crap." So did I. My jaw dropped when I heard it because I know what I heard. And, you know, I've got a pool. Plus, most of my research area is in swamp, marshy area, and I have to walk through it. And for me, when I'm out there researching and stuff, and I'm near the swampy stuff, I just get my feet wet instead of worrying about getting my feet wet. So once they're wet, I can walk through the water. I just go ahead and do it because first I was like, I don't want to get my feet wet. But then you're limited to where you can go if you got a little bit of water in your way. Go ahead and get them wet, and don't worry about it. You can go. Yeah. So what I hear bipedal sounded like me walking out of the lake. That would be my sweet cuz. That's what I heard in the water. I heard something. I'll describe exactly what I heard because there's steps in the water and you can hear the slosh, bipedal, slosh, 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 slosh. It comes out of the water. And to me, I'm envisioning because there was a pause, few second pause before it took a step, almost like it, whatever it was observing. Is it okay to go forward? And then when it did, it took steps on dry ground, and they were faster steps than what were in the water. Like it had somewhere to go, and it was moving quicker on land. And then you get wolf howl. That's what I hear. I hear wolf. I don't hear what, to me, it doesn't sound, and I'm not saying this is a wolf because, as we know, wolves aren't bipedal unless they're werewolves, dogmen. That is what I hear. That's just my take on it. That's when I heard it, I was like, man, this is a puzzle that it just solved itself, unless it's a different cryptid that, but to me, I hear wolf. I just hear wolf.
Now to give you some background on the topography.
Yeah.
There's a pond right there. And it's not very big. Maybe about 20 foot across, 20-foot circle diameter.
Yeah.
30 maybe at the most. and then there's a hill above it. And what's weird is this pond never goes dry. And we still can't understand why there's always water there, because the hill above it doesn't look like there'd be enough water that would keep that pond full.
It's not a natural spring.
But it's just not enough knob above it on the mountain to me. I might be wrong to keep it full, but he said a lot of things dry up around it, but that pond never dries up.
Maybe it's a tiny, small natural spring. Maybe is the water always cold?
I never stuck my hand in it.
And the natural springs water will be cold.
Yeah, I think that's where you hear the frogs in there too.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, when you first told about your encounter, how nervous were you to talk about it? Did it kind of feel like keeping it balled up was not a good idea, or did it feel like you needed to share it just for the relief of getting it out?
Well, okay, so the incident that happened in West Virginia, the very first incident, I went to work and I questioned, I asked people the question, what do you think it was? I said, don't I have to have some of these to hold a stick and throw something? Yeah. Then they started making fun of me. I didn't hold it back. No, I didn't. I what I seen, what I heard, I let them know. And I didn't tell them it was Bigfoot, but I said after hearing what they said about Charlie Schwartz, it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
And then as more and more stuff started happening, I started saying, there's got to be something to this.
Would you consider yourself a researcher or just somebody that's out there looking for yourself?
I'm probably more about looking for myself and passing the information on to people. So if they get into a situation, I think the worst thing you can do is panic. I don't want to shoot one. I don't want nobody to shoot one unless you don't have a choice. Then
Right.
That's another matter. But from what I understand, talking to people in Florida, it said people have been killed, and it was suspected that, well, they write it off as some animal, but people that know better suspected as they shot one, and there was more around. And so I want people to be aware. Don't, first thing, I'm gonna shoot it. I said, leave it alone. I said, they might have friends. Don't shoot them unless you got to. You don't have a choice.
Yeah. It's good advice. I think as many people have seen them, there's been very, very, very few physical encounters, so to speak, where anybody was harmed. That has come out, that wasn't said it was a bear or, whatever. I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about, treat them like a bear, give them their space. Only problem is you can film a bear all day long when you see it, know. Have you had any issues with any equipment malfunctions, batteries going dead, corrupted SD cards or anything like that? Or what I get with my recorders is a lot of disturbance. Like it'll be recording, there'll be that background white noise that nature has with some of the recorders, just then randomly it'll sound like interference. Things will just go from to and all garbled, distorted, and then silent again. Have you had anything like that happen?
I've never. I did a recorder once, and I couldn't hear nothing down in Louisiana where I was doing it, other than noise and owls and stuff. But I never went through all of them thoroughly, and I didn't have the programs to go through and search where you don't have to listen to the whole thing, just catch peaks. But the guy in West Virginia, a friend of mine, he does all that, and he picks up some really weird stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to know what kind of program they use, because I'm doing an audio recorder campaign currently in my in the research area that I'm at, and I've got it facing out into the swampy marsh part. And week ago, 10 days ago, I'm the only one out there. It's 6.7 miles from the blacktop all the way into the marsh and swamp and stuff over the research area. No cars, no trucks, no hunters, nothing. I'm out there alone. And the tree is here. The trail is here that you drive in, and the swamp and marsh and cypress are here. So this tree is on the edge of the water. The water's like 6 inches from the root of this cypress tree. There's some air plants in the cypress, and I hide my recorders, stuff them down in there in the air plants, and then I take another air plant and put it over the top. You cannot see it visibly looking at it. I come back the next day, and that recorder is taken out, and it's 3 feet away from the tree, facing up in about an eighth of an inch of water. But at the same place is where it dried up for the first time since I've been out there last year, and Bobby was with me, and we tracked 2 juvenile 9-inch prints for 200 yards back in there in the dried up marsh. Whenever they came up to a tree, those 2 prints went around it and they came back together, and they were practically walking shoulder to shoulder. Sure. If they weren't shoulder to shoulder, they were staggered just a little bit, but the prints were the same size, 9 inches. And they were barefoot. People don't walk in that mess barefooted. If you've ever been back there, you know, if you've ever been in swampy marsh waters you don't walk back there barefooted. It's just, no. Yeah. And it felt like, even though we couldn't see them, if they must have seen me, because there's no way somebody's going to drive past 1 million trees and pick the one that I did and then know where to look. I didn't tell anybody where it was. I was out there by myself. It's amazing how these things are so self-aware, and we can't touch them as far as their environment. We might as well be in our living room and they're in theirs. When you saw them, did you have any thought or inkling to say to yourself, what I just seen is ape? Is it, a caveman? Is it Nephilim, alien? I mean, did you have a theory on what you think you're looking at?
So going back to the pictures in West Virginia where you showed earlier with the, you got one on each side of the tree.
Yeah.
One kind of looks more primate than the other. And one has cornrows in its hair, like it's braided hair. And it's got a young one in its lap. And then there's the other picture where it's got long, kind of reddish looking hair, not that one. And it looks more human. So it's 3 different levels that I see there. So I think that their gene pool or whatever, they might turn out looking more human, or they might look more unknown primate, whatever that is. Kerry Arnold said it best to me is, he say, what is this, if this unknown primate still exists today that they seen in the DNA?
Yeah.
That could be what I'm seeing, the apish looking ones with the brow ridge and the black hair. And the braided hair part, that's what's strange. And I thought that was strange. And then I heard about somebody in Virginia had a farm. It was gated, and the family would go in and out the gate. Nobody else would be on the property. And the horses' manes would always get braided.
If I'm remembering right, and I could be wrong because my memory is that of a rock, but I thought M.K. Davis, because he's done a big dive on the Patterson Gimling, and he's got the frames and all that stuff. I could have swore that he said, zoomed in, that Patty had braids.
I wouldn't doubt it.
In her hair. I could be wrong. Or maybe it was a different image that he had that showed possibly braids. But I've also heard that from other encounters too. It's, a couple other times I've heard that. It's been reported out there. That takes thumbs. And gosh, I mean, I guess they got plenty of time to do it. I've tried to braid my daughter's hair, and it's like herding cats. It's I can braid hair just fine. I used to have hair down in my butt. I can do it myself. But yeah, thinking, I don't know. It's just bizarre. Do you have any advice on for anybody that is trying to figure out what they've seen, how to go about keeping their sanity with what they've seen?
Well, I think people need to have an open mind and don't automatically exclude the possibilities and try to understand what what makes that kind of noise, what throws objects, or and try to anything that happens, try to figure it out and question everything. But there was one thing when you're talking about blurry squatches. In one of them pictures, it was in South Carolina. A friend sent it to me, and it's in a rearview mirror. But
Yeah, I've seen it. Let me see if it's on here. I seen it when it was sent to me.
that was the
Uh,
first one you showed me when
is it that one?
That's it right there.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, why is that image blurry? Well, let me tell you a little bit about the story he told me. He's from right here in Darrow, Louisiana, but his family, I think they lived over there in South Carolina somewhere. They had a big piece of land. I think they were sharecroppers. And he told me they just went over there to kind of look things over. And when he was walking back, he said he kept hearing something in the woods, kind of like paralleling him. And he's not thinking about none of this stuff. So when he goes to get in the car, something threw a rock across the road in the ditch, and his attention got diverted to it before he got in the car. And when he got in his car, his wife was in a dead panic and saying, let's go, get in, let's go. So she's all spooked. They go down the road. He finally calms her down and said, well, what's going on? Well, she shows him the phone cam, the picture. And he's going, well, what? He said that thing almost was close enough to grab you. But if you look at the picture, the camera is actually focused on the rim of the mirror, not what's in the mirror.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why these cameras don't focus. That's why we're getting blurry squatches all the time. It's focused on something else other than the squatch. These autofocus.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's not easy. And when you get a good picture of anything, I mean, it's right in front of you. You're there live and you're looking at it. And then you take a picture with it on your camera or your phone. You practically don't see what you've taken. You've lost definition. You've lost shading. You've lost all kinds of detail, even though it's right there in front of you because you've lost the depth to it. And unfortunately, images aren't going to be most likely what changes people's minds unless it's something in the wide open, it's close, or whatnot. And then because of AI,
nobody believe nothing no more.
Yeah, even with video, you're gonna need the metadata from your camera and your phone and whatever it is that's taking the images and the videos just to prove to people this hasn't been messed with. Yeah, unfortunately, it's almost going to take a 15, 20-second video that can be analyzed and it's not shaky. And good luck to anybody out there that can do it. We're all trying to get that shot. I want to see another one because as a kid, I didn't want to see it. I looked away as fast as I could. Didn't want to see it. I didn't want to look at it. Looking back now, you can see a lot in 5 seconds. If you just stare at your room in 5 seconds and take it all in, you can see a lot. So 15 seconds, I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take what they give me. Right now, it's not a whole lot, but that's where it is. So if you had any advice for anybody that wanted to share their story, do you think holding it in, or do you maybe it's to each his own, but there's ridicule that comes along with this. But what's your advice on talking about it to people?
Well, I mean, okay, I was at the verge of retiring when I started talking at the plant I worked in, but after I retired, I didn't care.
Yeah, you got nothing to lose at that point.
No,
Yeah.
So I talk about it all the time. I might go out be out somewhere in town and, hey, you believe in Bigfoot? And I get some, well, yeah. And I get some, hey, no, I was at the hospital with my wife and I asked the nurse, you believe in Bigfoot? No. And one of them says, yeah, my daughter does. So, that's the kind of conversations you got to have. More and
Yeah.
more people are willing to say, I believe in Bigfoot, and they hadn't seen him
Mhm.
or had any events.
Yeah, I think talking about it, it helped me. The very first time I told somebody, I think it was my wife, and then after that, it was um, on another podcast. I talked to somebody, and then after that, the third person I told was Dave Bakar at Expedition Bigfoot Museum in Cherry Log, Georgia. Um, and man, it's therapy. It's therapy.
Yeah.
It's free therapy. It doesn't cost you anything. Um, the only time you just got to make sure that you're dealing with somebody open-minded, because if you start getting ridiculed to your face, you're getting re-traumatized all over again,
Yeah.
and you just kind of shut down. I think talking about it's going to be the best thing for you, and just find that safe space to do it.
Yeah. My event didn't traumatize me. I mean, I had questioned it when
Yeah.
so mine wasn't like Carrie Arnold's event. If it had been
Yeah.
like Carrie Arnold's event,
Yeah.
I probably would have clammed up.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't have went in the woods for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Carry on. I love that dude. He wasn't lying when he said that I thought I was the baddest person everywhere I go. He is a big boy. He was a big boy, and he was an alpha male when he walked in the room. Everybody knew it, but he didn't act like an alpha male. Carrie Arnold was a give you the shirt off your back, do anything for you, help in any way he could kind of guy. The way he was that we all seen is how he was behind the scenes, is how he was out in the field researching. I was out many times with Carrie Arnold, and Carrie Arnold was what everybody seen behind the camera. And there's not a whole lot of genuine people like that. Some people put on a facade, and Carrie didn't have to put on a facade. No. He was who he was. He was just a likable guy, and we miss him dearly. I really thank you for coming on, and I want to thank Miss Wendy in the background. Thank you so much for recommending John. It was great to have you on. If you ever get something and you want to share it with us, we'd love to have you back. Absolutely, we would. And if you have any friends that you've gone out with that have had encounters, we'd love to have them on if they feel comfortable enough to come on. If not, if they don't feel comfortable enough to be seen, we can hide their face and just voice only type of thing.
Yeah, I have one lady that might be interested, but everything she has is with feathers. They leave her feathers.
Yeah. Has she had any sightings?
No, I don't think so. Man.
Gotcha. John, man, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody in the chat, if real quick, if any of you guys have a question for John, throw them in all capitals. And if John, if you're up to answering a couple of questions, if anybody has it, fire away. It'd be, I'd love to know too, because it might be a question that I haven't thought of or whatnot. Uh-oh. Simone de Sanchez says, "Hey, Dad."
Yeah. She's got a question.
No, it looks like an applause or maybe a high wave. Okay, well,
yeah. Hey, Simone.
As of now, yeah, I just take a quick chance to say hi to everybody again. My buddy Dan, how you doing, Dan? Miss Simone, it was great to have you here. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Hopefully, y'all will, the people that have been here for the first time, and there's been quite a few. Hopefully, you'll like and subscribe and be a regular in our chat. We have great mods and a great friendly chat. Everybody's respectful and kind, which is that's the kind of people we want around. Maria Walker said, "Did you see the thing coming out of the water?"
Oh, what she's talking about, the audio?
Probably with the howl. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was an audio recorder.
Audio only.
I wish we could have seen it.
Yeah, I would love to see a dog, man, but then I also, I was infatuated with them when I was a kid. Werewolves, and still love them. Those Underworld movies are
Yeah.
some of my
Those-
favorite movies. Um, well, Miss Diane, I'm gonna move my cursor up just so I can say some people. I just want to recognize everybody that took the time to see us tonight. Miss Maria. Okay, at AEU Bank 3. Thank you for stopping in. Gosh, I wish I could pronounce that and not sound illiterate, but I don't have to do much to not sound illiterate. What is happening? Flat Rock, also, thank you for stopping in. Flat Rock. Flat Rock's got a lot of great things that he's encountered and dealt with, and a lot of experience too. He's a wealth of knowledge too. Lady Hawk, what's happening, Lady Hawk? It's good to see you again. It's been a while because it's been a while since I've been on. Miss Nana Marie, we love her. She's awesome. Patrick Noble, hey bud, how you doing? Patrick and Bigfoot World Cryptid. I think that would be Mrs. Kathy Westerman. She is a researcher up in the Ocala area, and she probably spends more time in the woods than any researcher that I know. She is devoted to what she does. La 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 la. John Burton, hey bud, thank you for being here so much. Thank you so much. My cousin was here. My wife stopped in. She's trying to keep our daughter busy. Miss Lynn. A lot of the people some of the people that were on the Expedition 168 are in the chat. That looks like that's about it. I see a big loud Saitonga. Does that mean anything? By Lady Hawk. Oh, EAU Banks says, John was talking about me. I do get feathers and other things. Twice I have seen something huge and black, devoid of color. And that is really spooky when it's so black that I've seen that, but I've seen that on a hog. And I'm not 100%. It was 3D is what she said. I've seen that on a hog. I was driving to work. I leave early in the morning. It's completely dark. And as I round the corner, my headlights obviously hit the hog, but I didn't see the hog. I seen the shadow of it on the bush behind me. It was almost like it absorbed every single ounce of light, and I had to follow the shadow back to the hog. It was so black.
The eye shine I seen in West Virginia, I never seen the silhouette of it. All I seen was just the eye shine.
Yeah,
it's like
crazy.
It absorbs the light. It sucks the light in.
Yeah. And it's kind of like she says, it voids of light.
Yeah.
It's a devoid. It's a great term. And my cousin Jamie, I'm still here. I see you, girl. Well, everybody, I want to say thank you for showing up for our first show for 2026. We've got some lined up shows, and I think Bobby will be with us next time around. If not, maybe Mikey, our other guy on our team, Bigfoot Forest Giants. He's the guy that keeps us laughing, keeps us all grounded. Most people haven't seen Mikey. He's busy, but we'll get him on here sometime. So everybody, thanks for coming in. Happy New Year's. Have a safe year. If you have a New Year's resolution, good luck with that. I've tried, and I've failed making a New Year's resolution, let alone trying to stick to one. So I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thank everybody for coming, giving us your time. It's really appreciated. Just remember, when you're out there and chasing your shadows in the woods, or chasing your dreams, just be good to each other, and leave the world a better place. And with that, I'm gonna sign off. Stay wild out there, guys.
Yep.
Take it easy.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, John. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.